So you've said you don't think the Federal Reserve should be in a rush to cut interest rates. Why is that?
So I've been describing today's economy as like driving through fog. Just some examples. There's a tax bill being discussed, but no one actually knows what's going to end up in it and when it's going to pass. We've talked about tariffs, but I don't know. Maybe you know better than I do, but I couldn't tell you what the tariff rate on Europe is going to be 6 months from now.
Sure.
So there's a lot of uncertainty out there. And when you drive through fog, and this is true for the businesses I talk to, and I'd say it's equally true for the Fed, there are a couple things you don't want to do. You don't want to put your foot on the gas, because if you put your foot on the gas, you don't know what lies around the next curve. You don't want to put your foot on the brake because you don't know, who's going to run into you. And so, often drivers in really dense fog pull over and put on the hazards, wait it out. That's what the businesses I'm talking to are telling me. They're not cutting back. They're not putting their foot on the brake. They're not laying a lot of people off. But they're also not leaning into things like hiring and investment. They're just waiting for the fog to clear and see where we go.
They're just holding steady.
Right. And for us, I could describe to you an environment that's going to be inflationary, tariffs and the like. I could describe for you an environment that's going to be contractionary. I could describe to you an environment that's going to be neither of those two. And I'm just not sure I'm in a rush to decide and then wake up and figure out that the fog lifted and we're actually headed down a different road.
What does that mean for the economy if businesses are kind of just playing it safe, holding steady, not making any big decisions either way, if that's what you're hearing from them?
If it's a short-term thing, it's not a big issue. We'll get through it. But if that's true for the long term, if people think that volatility is elevated for the long term, that'll be a challenge for hiring and investment.
And I'm curious, do you think there's a shift between how consumers, or do you think there's a divergence between how consumers are behaving and how businesses are behaving right now? Because what you're saying about kind of holding steady, playing it safe, there's been a fall in consumer confidence, but not really a huge drop in spending.
So I've been looking at that hard. And certainly 3 months ago, when you saw the big increases in business uncertainty, consumer uncertainty. But what we're seeing on the business side is what I described. On the consumer side, spending continues.